Hi there, I wanted to make this video in response to some claims that I've seen out there, mystical claims that everything's going to somehow be okay, we're going to come through this coronavirus madness, somehow we're going to get to the other side and it's all going to be all right. There's going to be some mass awakening and we're going to automatically get to a better place. And I just want to put out my reasons why I strongly disagree with this, and we have to be extremely careful about such messages based not in logic, reason, evidence and proof, but essentially on channeled sources or messages from higher selves or whatever mystical source. We have to be really, really careful, because what we're dealing with here when we hear this coronavirus narrative is we are hearing claims and assertions made by, Anthony Fauci or Neil Ferguson or our local governments. We're hearing claims and assertions that are not evidence-based. And in this respect, they're very like mysticism. They're very like, believing in the supernatural or anything for which there's no evidence. And, whole countries and our whole Western culture at the moment, it seems, is being appealed to accept so-called truths with no evidence. And so our appropriate response is to say, no, we demand evidence. We want to see the reasons. Where's the evidence for this? Why are we locking down? It's reason and evidence that we have to use in dealing with these arguments, in rebutting them. So as soon as we start accepting mystic claims, i.e. without evidence, proof and logic, we've lost our standard of truth, basically. We are nowhere, and we are in the same realm as governments and health officials all around the world at the moment who are making assertions that are contradicted by the facts of reality. So I wanted to share with you that this is dangerous to accept these mystical claims for three reasons. For two reasons. The first one is it's a massive call to inaction. Okay, the whole idea that planetary alignment between Saturn and Jupiter on the winter solstice of 2020, which is coming up soon. I'm recording this on Friday the 18th of December. The whole claim that there's this mass awakening going to automatically happen and everyone's going to be enlightened and all of a sudden, everything's going to be all right. The problem with this is it's a huge call to inaction. Even if it's not a direct call to inaction, it's implicit. All you have to do is fold your arms, sit back and order another pizza and watch as enlightenment automatically happens. But this just isn't the way anything happens in reality. Knowledge must be acquired, appropriate action has to be taken in order for changes to occur. So this call to inaction is a major red flag, or it should be. Imagine what your enemy would want you to do. Imagine what, those who are imposing their agenda on you would want you to do. And they want you to do nothing. They would like you to just sit back and do diddly squat. So any message that ever has an implicit component of inactivity should be hugely questioned and, I would say, rejected. The second reason that we shouldn't accept these mystical claims is that it invalidates our standard of truth. And it in fact disengages our actual means of finding truth. You have no means of achieving certainty in terms of knowing something is true beyond any reasonable doubt. You have no means of doing that if you are prepared to believe in things without reason. If you're being appealed to invoke faith, just believe, somebody channeled it or it came from someone's higher self. There's no evidence for that. And if anyone is appealing to you to accept something as true with no evidence, they are negating and circumventing your only means to know truth with certainty, which means to think, gather information, evaluate it, make judgments, investigate, proof, evidence, reason, logic, and arrive at knowledge. So to accept mystical claims is to compromise your whole method of acquiring truth. It's really important to get this. So let's look into it a little bit deeper of why that is. I want to use the example of when you get into your car and drive your car up the road. You use your eyes and, to a lesser extent, your ears and your other senses. You use your eyes to perceive the road, the reality in front of you. Where does it go? And you act in accordance with that evidence of reality. And of course, you implicitly trust your senses. You look out the windscreen and you drive and follow the road appropriately. So we have to be careful when we say, you can't trust your senses and things like that, because we do. Every day we implicitly trust them. But just imagine you wouldn't drive your car by covering your eyes or pulling a screen down and say, do you know what? I'm going to follow messages from my higher self. Yeah, I can intuit it. Yeah, left here, right there. You wouldn't do that. You would not get in a taxi, even if you don't drive, where the driver puts on a blindfold and says that he's going to, intuit the way or, listen to instructions from his higher self. You just wouldn't do that. Nobody would do that. It's facts, it's evidence, it's reality that we implicitly trust in when we drive up the road. And it's really important to stay reality and fact-based if you're a truth seeker. If you want to know the path ahead, if you want to know reality, facts, reason, evidence, logic, proof are your means and your friends. Consider the judicial system. Far less than perfect. It has many flaws. It's steeped in corruption. But certainly here in the UK and in America, still, thankfully, the judiciary, the whole legal system, is based on logic, facts and evidence. And it's widely accepted because it's real and reality is this way. It's widely accepted that facts and evidence support the truth about what happened in any claim or case. And, if you were falsely accused, like the chap on the Shawshank Redemption, for example, that excellent film, if you were falsely accused of a murder or any crime, you wouldn't want the jury to be rolling the bones to figure out your innocence or guilt. You wouldn't want them to be consulting the tarot cards. You would want them to consult the facts of reality and see that the evidence shows that you didn't do it. So it's really important to grasp this idea that your means to arrive at truth has to be a demand for evidence. And you must bear this in mind when you hear any cryptic claims or mystic claims of planetary alignments, mass awakenings, going through the photon belt, everything's going to be okay. You must use facts, reason, evidence, and logic. The other related topic I wanted to make briefly is the whole concept of waking up as a metaphor for enlightenment is very, very limited, and it's almost a duff steer, I would say. And there are real good reasons why this is true. Waking up is a sort of a binary state. Either you're unconscious or you're conscious. Either you're asleep or you're awake. There are only two states you can be in. Okay, but the state of wakefulness, which is clearly required for gathering knowledge and enlightenment, on that, once you're awake, there's a whole scale of ignorant through to enlightened. There's a whole spectrum from being stupid and unthinking and not knowing anything to being more and more clued up to, the other end of the spectrum, which is, being fully functional, being clued in, understanding, gaining more and more awareness. Arguably, that's an ongoing process. But the point is that it's not sufficient to just think, okay, I'm awake, I've arrived. This metaphor of being awake almost implies that there's nothing else to do. In fact, the three reasons why this metaphor is not useful, I just want to stress again, is one, that it's a binary situation, either you're asleep or you're awake. The other is that it's automatic. Waking up is something you do every day. When you've had sufficient rest, sufficient sleep, your body returns to consciousness. It's not something that you have to do with any deliberate, proactive action. It happens automatically, okay? Okay, you know, a bomb might go off and you might be forcefully woken up. An alarm call might call you to consciousness, but essentially the essence of being awake is that you arrive there automatically. So this again implies inaction. But also the metaphor of being awoke, being awake to things, is that there's nothing else to do. Well, that's it, you're awake. There's nowhere else to go. It's asleep or awake. Asleep or awake. Those are the only two states you can be in. There is nothing else to do. There's no further action to take. And this again is an implicit part of the metaphor that often goes unspoken. And it's dangerous because there's a whole lot of things that need to be done. There's a lot of knowledge that needs to be acquired, and there's a lot of action that needs to be taken. Things can change, and things will change, I think, eventually. May take several decades, but things will change because knowledge needs to be acquired first, then action needs to be taken, and then change can occur. Change is not automatic. There's no political change that's we're likely to see. There's no political freedom that will suddenly be bestowed on people automatically. It has to be achieved. So be very careful with this waking up metaphor. It implicitly implies inaction. It's a call for inaction. And when you really think about it, it's knowledge that is required. Knowledge takes effort. You have to get up in the morning and be proactive. You have to want to know. You have to gather the information. You have to look around and hear that there are conflicting views going on, conflicting stories and conflicting ideas in your reality, and you must reconcile that. You must observe the principle that contradictions don't exist, and therefore eliminate what's false. And this is what the essence of the thinking and reasoning process is doing. And if there are so-called conspiracy theories over there, and there's the official line over here, and they don't stack up, the truth seeker, his work, if you like, is to inquire, to evaluate evidence, to look for the rational, logical argument. And if there isn't one over here, where is there one? There is one here. It's all about evaluating. Again, facts, reason, evidence, logic, proof. So I think that about says it all. I don't want to waffle on too long, but I do hope that you get something from this, because if we consider ourselves truth seekers, we must maintain a standard of truth. Okay, we cannot forsake that. We mustn't just believe things. That's what we're being asked to do in the mainstream narrative. So I'm an atheist, and I advocate that all truth seekers and people of reason should seriously question any ideas they accept as true without evidence. It's the ultimate duff steer to be called upon to believe things without reasons. So anyway, I hope you all have a great festive time in the challenging circumstances. Keep those rational conversations alive. Don't comply, don't wear masks, don't socially distance, reject the madness, I would say, and keep reasoning, keep looking for evidence, keep trying to persuade people. It's really important to keep acting, because if we can set an example, if you can dare to act in defiance of all of the nonsense rules, if you can not comply, effectively you can give permission to other people out there who might see you from a distance, even if you don't notice them, but they'll be going, he's not complying. It kind of gives other people permission to also act in that way. We need more resistance and less compliance. So anyway, all the best for the festive season, and indeed let's all look towards a more rational 2021.